Welcome, my dear friends. Today, I invite you on a journey. One that is not just a story, but an experience. A story that will quietly enter your heart, gently shake your thoughts, and leave behind a powerful truth about life, struggle, and the beauty of never giving up. This is the story of a man who did not simply perform on stage. He transformed pain into laughter. A man who carried silence like music and sorrow like strength. A man whose footsteps echoed across generations. His name is Charlie Chaplin, but before he became a legend, before the world recognized his genius, he was just a small boy with empty pockets and a heart full of dreams. And today, you will witness that transformation. So stay with me till the end, because this is not just a story you hear. This is a story you feel. It all began in the crowded streets of London in the year 1889. The city was loud, restless, and unforgiving, especially for those who had nothing. Charlie was born into a family of performers. His mother, Hannah Chaplin, had a gentle voice that once filled theaters with emotion. His father, Charles Chaplin Sr., was also an entertainer. On the surface, it seemed like a life of art and applause. But reality was very different. Behind the curtains, there was no stability, no security, only struggle. His father slowly disappeared into alcohol, losing himself, and eventually leaving the family behind. And just like that, young Charlie's world changed forever. Now it was just his mother.
End. Survival.
Days turned into nights of hunger. Nights turned into mornings of uncertainty. There were moments when even a single piece of bread felt like a luxury. Sometimes his mother would pretend she had already eaten, just so her children could have a little more. Think about that. A mother sacrificing even her hunger just to protect her children from it. And yet, in the middle of all this hardship, there was still something alive inside Charlie. A spark. A quiet, burning dream. Charlie often watched his mother perform. From behind the stage curtains, he would observe her every move. Her expressions, her voice, her connection with the audience. To
him,
the stage was not just a platform. It was magic, and one evening, something unexpected happened. His mother was performing, but suddenly, her voice failed her. She tried to continue, but the sound would not come. The audience grew impatient. Some shouted. Some mocked. It was a cruel moment. But then, a small figure walked onto the stage. It was Charlie, just a child. No training. No preparation. But with courage, far bigger than his age, he began to sing. He moved. He performed. And something beautiful happened. The same audience that had moments ago been angry now burst into laughter and applause. That was the first time Charlie felt it. The power to make people smile. And in that moment, something inside him whispered, "This is who you are." But life was not ready to be kind yet. As years passed, the struggles only deepened. His mother's Health began to fade not just physically, but
mentally.
the pain of poverty, rejection, and loneliness slowly took her away from reality. She was eventually taken to a mental institution. And just like that, Charlie lost the one person who had held his world together. Now imagine this: a young boy, alone, no parents, no home, no guidance, only silence. Charlie and his brother were sent to workhouses, harsh places, where the poor were made to work in exchange for survival. Cold rooms, hard labor, no warmth, no affection, just existence. But even in those moments, Charlie did not let his dream die. He carried it quietly, like a flame protected from the wind. As he grew older, survival became his responsibility. He took small jobs, anything that could bring a little money. He cleaned, he delivered, he worked wherever he could. But his heart never left the stage. And then one day, while walking through the streets, he saw something familiar. Street performers. They were dancing, acting, making people laugh. And something inside him awakened again, without waiting, without overthinking. He joined them. At first, people ignored him. Some passed by without even noticing. But Charlie stayed. He observed. He learned. He improved. Day after day, performance after performance, failure after failure, until slowly people started to stop. They watched. They smiled. They laughed. And Charlie realized something powerful. You don't need a perfect stage to begin. You just need the courage to start. Opportunity, as they say, does not knock loudly. It whispers. And Charlie heard it. He joined a performance group, 8, Lancashire, lads. It was not glamorous. It was not fame. But it was a step forward. He practiced tirelessly, observed deeply, improved constantly. Soon, his talent became impossible to ignore. At just 16, he landed a role in a theatrical production, inspired by Sherlock Holmes. And for the first time, he stood not as a struggling boy, but as an actor. Then came the turning point. America, a land of possibilities, a place where dreams either bloom or
break.
Charlie joined Fred Carno Company and traveled across the ocean. Everything was new, everything was bigger, and deep inside.
He knew.
This is where my story will change. Soon, a film studio noticed him. Keystone Studios gave him a chance. A small
Role.
But Charlie did not see it as small. He saw it as a doorway. And through that doorway, he created something unforgettable. A character, a simple man, with a bowler hat, a cane, oversized clothes, and a walk that spoke louder than words. The world would later call him the Tramp. At first, people didn't understand, but then they watched. They laughed. They connected. Because behind the humor, there was truth, pain, struggle, hope. Within a few years, Charlie was no longer just another actor. He became a global sensation, from the streets of London and America to the screens of the world. But success did not change his essence. It only strengthened his vision. He wanted control, not for power, but for purpose. So he did something bold. He created his own studio, Chaplin Studios. Now, he was free to tell stories his way, free to create meaning beyond entertainment. And in 1921, he gave the world something unforgettable. The Kid, a story of a man and a child. But deeper than that, a reflection of his own life. It made people laugh, and it made them cry. Because it was real. Years passed, but Charlie never stopped evolving. When the world shifted to sound films, he chose silence. But because he understood something deeper. Emotion does not need words. And with City Lights, he proved it, even without dialogue. Millions felt every moment. Then came a darker time in the world. War, fear, rising hatred. A man named Adolf Hitler was spreading destruction. And Charlie chose to respond not with weapons, but with art. Through the great dictator, he used humor to challenge power, and in one speech, he reminded humanity of its own humanity. But truth is not always welcomed. Criticism grew, and eventually, he was forced to leave America, a place he had helped shape, a place he once called home. Charlie moved to Switzerland. There, life slowed down. He spent time with family, reflected on his journey, and embraced peace. On December 25, 1977, the world lost him. But legends do not disappear. They transform. They live through their work, their impact, their story. And perhaps the most shocking moment came after his death. His body was stolen. Yes, even in death, his story had twists, but eventually, peace was restored, and he was laid to rest again. So what does his life teach us? Not loudly, not forcefully, but gently. It tells us you can come from nothing and still become everything. You can face rejection and still rise. You can lose everything and still rebuild. Because what truly matters is not what happens to you, but what you choose to become. No matter how difficult your life is today, if you continue to move forward with belief, patience, and courage, you can create a life greater than your struggles. My friends, thank you for listening this story. I hope you enjoyed this journey through history. And if you have ideas for other historical stories, please leave a comment below. If this video brought you value, please tap the like button and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe for more useful content videos.